What?
This whole thing in IKEA, is that recent?
It's online.
Oh.
I have no idea. I just want to set it up. Okay. So, Likutey Moharan, Samach Beis. We have established Baruch Hashem in great length that by learning Poskim, we're going to, in Hashem, finish Sif Hey, hopefully. So we said that you're learning Poskim, a person can know HaKadosh Baruch Hu with a complete heart. He knows how to answer. You know, there's niggling apicorsis that's in a person's heart. And
knowing Poskim? Knowing halacha?
Yeah, learning halacha, yeah. That does that. And when a person does tainus, he's taking the dibur, the speech, from Meitzar Hagoram, from the straits of the throat. Now, we have put together, explained that in order, the ultimate goal is to eat with such complete emunah that by the eating alone, you are causing a Yechud Kudsha B'Chul Shchintei, this spiritual tikkun, panim b'panim, face to face. In other words, that's the highest expression of HaKadosh Baruch Hu in this world. Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu refers to the HaKadosh Baruch Hu the way he is, as it were. The Shekhinah refers to the expression of HaKadosh Baruch Hu in this world. Now, the expression of HaKadosh Baruch Hu in this world can be more evident or less evident. When Chas and Chalila, there is a separation, that's Chol Beis Hamikdash. That's the Shekhinah B'Galus. The idea is that we are supposed to put them together, and there are many different levels of putting them together. We're putting together apin ba'apin, face to face. It's the greatest revelation. So we explained the way this is done is by answering the kashas in your heart and by relying on emunah. Now, that together, this das and emunah together, bring about, completes the emunah, but that's not the thing that actually already enables the existence or the creation of Yechud Kudsha B'Chul Apin B'Apin by eating alone. The emunah needs to be more than just that. The emunah needs to be adorned. It has to be bejeweled. It has to be beautified. Now, we all know that the Shekhinah is called, the kala. It's the bride. Now, the jewelry and the clothing and the adornments on the bride do not change who she is, right? But what it does is it creates a greater affection from her husband to her. Ad kadei kach that
creates a greater affection?
when the kala is dressed with jewelry, with nice clothes, husband sees her and he has more affection, he has more desire for her. Ad kedei kach that la'alocha, in that say that various tanesim, whatever it is, and it says that in the 3 weeks, whatever it is, that the kala that is during the 3 weeks is allowed to to wash her face, wash her face and whatever. So she won't chas v'chalila find disfavor in the husband's eyes. Kala, all 30 days, she's allowed to. She has special dispensations, so she'll look beautiful to her husband. Same, and that comes from the root, which is the relationship, as it were, between the Kodesh Baruch Hu and the Shekhinah. The Shekhinah needs to be adorned, has to be bejeweled, has to be beautified. The way she's beautified is by being Mekara Rechoikim. People who are far away from her. The process of doing this is by elevating the sparks of the dibur from the klippas. And once this is done, the dibur itself turns itself to the klipot, down to the klipot. And what it does is it pulls out, it magnetizes the residual nitzosos, the kedusha, which are in the klipot. And that creates a situation where the klipos are bereft, they're empty. Because the klipos has only chayas from the sparks of kedusha that fell from the original shattering of the vessels. And when people do averis, people go after moisures, people go after excesses, after luxury, after whatever, that drops nitzos kedusha into the klipot. And the purpose is that once you actually elevate all the nitzos from the klipot, what it does is it empties out the klipot. The klipot need the holy sparks to feed themselves. And when they're fed, in other words, they're leaching off the sparks of kedusha, then they're able to give the goyim and people who are following Kodesh Baruch Hu the illusion that there's something to gain to go after them. It's also a religion, you're going to be saved, or you're going to be, a famous artist, and art is very important, blah, 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 whatever it is, that it gives you a feeling that it is important, it is paramount. But once you elevate the kedusha from the klipot, they remain empty. Then people see the avodah zarah, all the idolatries and all the isms and all the that things that people hold so dear and important and precious. It makes them see it for what it is. It's empty. It's nonsense. Now the thing is that people need something to satiate psychologically. They need to be nourished psychologically. They need a meaning in their lives. Famous, Viktor Frankl's book, A Man Searches for Meaning, is basically he points out that a person without meaning equals depression. When a person has a meaning to his life, no matter how difficult that life is, it keeps him going. He had a very famous example. He said that, he passed the war in Auschwitz, and he keeps on telling how he became a big celebrity in the 60s. And when his book came out, and he's basically explained the thesis of, a person needs a meaning in his life, and obviously his point of view is very secular. For him, a religion is just one of the ways of applying meaning to one's life. And supposedly there are
This was
Viktor Frankl.
he acted with us in second years. He wrote a follow-up book.
I don't know about the follow-up book. I'm talking about a man, searches for me.
Back from Soul.
I'm just talking about that particular book that he was talking about. The main point is he was saying, when they were interviewing him after the, during the 60s when his book came out and he became really, I don't know how many people that followed him and made him a celebrity, how much they actually understood this Indian of a person, that the person needs meaning to keep on, to live. That book, I think that probably the main attraction of the book is this amazing description of life in Auschwitz. It is so vivid. It is so. So that was, anyhow. So he was being interviewed afterwards, and he said that he was living in Austria after the war, which was a welfare state. Everybody was well fed and taken care of, whatever it is, and they had a great problem with juvenile despondency, despair, suicide. And he said that the suicide rate in Auschwitz was practically nil. Probably because in Auschwitz, staying alive was the meaning. I assume that this is what it's about. The idea is they had a cause célèbre. They had a reason for being, staying alive. That was the value that they were fighting for. What do you mean commit suicide? That would be the opposite of. Well, when a person has no meaning in his life, the result is almost automatically depression. It could be, worse, less, whatever it is. When a person has no goal, has no reason to be, the result is depression. So when you take out of the klipos, out of the tumah, you take all the illusion of meaning. All those who follow it, all the avodah salilim, all the adultery, whatever it is, it's empty. It has nothing to offer. Then what they do, they need a meaning, so they turn to Emunas Yisrael. That accomplishes the adornment of the Emunah, because these going were not there before, and now you're makar of them. The same thing is very, it's very, very similar to a kala when she was there all along. The jewelry wasn't there. The fancy clothing wasn't there. So there's a kishut in the lohavo. These are adornments that did not exist before. This refers to the rechoikim, goyim, Jews that were far away, that come to Emunah, that adorns the Emunah, and that brings about, the a completion of Emunah. Then you can eat, and by the mere eating alone, you're creating. Now, Rabbeinu, we went last week into this Indian that the main conduit, interface of the tumah to be able to suck life force from the kedusha is a bechina of called achoraim, the hind side. It's called paroi, the same letter as ha'oref, the back of the head. From there, connect in the neck the three ministers of Paroi, Sarah Oifim, Sarah Mashka, Sarah Tabochim, which are euphemisms for, Taivas Achila and Taivas Shtia, which yields to a healthy flow of blood, the blood vessels around the throat, the air pipe, and the food pipe. And they're very, very close to the Dibur. When a person is well fed, a person has the clearance of mind to go pursue his vices. When a person is starving, he has no head to pursue any type. The shirish of the thing that enables all the types is the achila, eating and drinking. It's not just eating and drinking, chas v'chalila, something which is not kosher or whatever. It's also with things that are kosher. How do you eat it? What is the reason why you eat it? You can eat it, things which are allowed is mutar, this is klifas noiga. It can either go up to the kedusha or chas v'chalila go to the tumah. If you are using, you're just not comfortable enough, to eat non-kosher, Baruch Hashem, but you really don't care about it that much. So what you do, you just make sure that it's kosher. But the main thing you're really interested in is you want to enjoy, a person wants to enjoy the food. You want to eat Wagyu beef. Yeah, you want to have what they called artificial bacon, bacon chips, whatever it is that, and they make, fake shrimps out of tilapia or something. What I'm not sure what it is, but in other words, and the kitzur, the whole thing is you want to enjoy olam hazeh, but within the boundaries of kedusha, that brings down the kedusha into the tumah and causes a person to sin, not b'chavona, not mezid. But this is the thing that brings about the shoygig. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. When a person is 100% aiming to eat b'kedusha for Kadosh Baruch Hu, he is not going to be nichshol b'shogeg. Kadosh Baruch Hu does not bring michshol to tzaddikim. Doesn't fail tzaddikim. The purpose of Mazid, all the korbanos come from Mazid, as Mazid. I'm sorry, the purpose of shoygig, of inadvertent averis, is to wake up a person and says, whoa, check out, see what happened to you, see where you are. You thought that everything is cool. You're fine, you're eating kosher, you're keeping Shabbos, everything's all right. Suddenly, boom, you find yourself doing something b'shogeg. You ate something non-kosher b'shogeg, or a person, whatever it is, he did something b'shogeg. Why did it happen to him? He didn't mean to. Because Kadosh Baruch Hu sends it to him, because he told him, listen, you have been behaving like an animal. You have been, satisfying your animalistic urges. When you forgot about the Kedushas of Kadosh Baruch Hu, brings you a little, flick on the nose, a shoygig. Oops. So you should wake up. The Korbanos fixed that. That's what the Korbanos was for. So the question is, how do you stop the taivas, the klipas, from sucking off chayes from the kedusha? So we said the kedusha has two parts: there's the front and the back. They can only get it from the back because the back is dim enough for them to be able to receive from kedusha without getting overexposed, because overexposed burns them out. So we said, so what do you have to do? What you have to do is you have to cover up. the Pchinas Achoraim, from where they suck. We said this is akin to covering up the garbage cans. So the vermin will not have food. I mean, you can have an unending war against cockroaches and rats, and you'll never win until you actually block their access to food. If there's no food, they ain't going to spend their precious time with you. They're going somewhere else. If you have food, okay, then it becomes a war between, who has more, who has a greater willpower, you or them. So the idea is that you seal off the Achoraim. So the Rabbeinu calls it medabek, to seal off the hind side of the Kedusha. So they won't be able to suck from that. How do you do it? You do it through fasting. Why is fasting obviously is the opposite of achila, right? It's the opposite of eating. We're talking about how do you bring about the ultimate tikkun of achila. Rabbeinu says is that through fasting. Rabbeinu now explains why fasting fixes the Pchinas Achoraim, why it seals off the Pchinas Achoraim. And he says as follows. Follow me, yeah?
Would Rabbeinu still recommend fasting?
No, Rabbi Nosson speaks about it, and he says the fasting, no, so he says the fasting, Rabbi Nosson talks about this Nikuda. He says the fasting that we're talking about, the Rabbeinu is talking about for us, is not to eat before davening, or 1 day a week or whatever it is, like Anash was doing during Shemin, to go vegan for 1 day, not to eat anything, that has a mother, from the animal world. Tiny show us a few hours, not to get into nation like Ravina used to do, nothing, but just partial, when you have a whole plate of food, okay? Eat part, and you want to finish it off, leave part of it. Leave part of it over. This is a tinus, it's called tinus Rambam.
But would the eggs still work today? We do it
Avada. If you're doing it like that, if you're doing that, you have to understand something. All the eitzes of Rabbeinu work. What you need, Rabbeinu teaches us those eitzes, so when we are mekayim these eitzes, we're doing it in order to be able to bring forth the benefit that Rabbeinu speaks about. Don't just fast because we want to lose weight. That's not the thing that's going to do it. The thing that's going to do it is because if I'm fasting in order to seal off the hind side of the Kedusha, then it's going to work for that. If I just do it because, I want to look, fit into my spring clothing, then it's not going to work. I mean, like Rabbeinu says, tzitzis is a sgula for Shmir Sabris. This is if you're interested in Shmir Sabris. A person is not interested in Shmir Sabris, the tzitzis is not going to help. And so forth and so on. All the sgulas Rabbeinu speaks about is when you do it with an express intention, to derive those benefits. So the Rabbeinu calls this Indian of fasting. What does fasting do? Fasting makes you hungry. The value of fasting, the nature of fasting, is always a bechina of achoraim, of what came before it. When a person fasts between meals, it's not considered fasting. Now, a low-grade fast starts from a Leitza Shachar, right? Shivasa B'Tamuz, Tzom Gedalim, Sora B'Tevis. Starts, that you have until nightfall, and then you're off the hook. Now, when you're going, a more high-grade, upgrade tinus, Kippur, Tisha B'Av, what do? You start the day before, right? The night before. what is the value of the tainus? Why is this tainus more valuable than Shivasa B'Tammuz than Asar B'Tevis and Tzom Gedali? Why is this more valuable? Valuable because by the end, before you eat, right, you're hungry, because when did you start the tainus? You started yesterday. Now you're talking. Let's say a person fasts for 2 days. It's an even more important tainus. Why? Because you started, not because it's the second day itself, because it's the second to the first day. When you started, that's the thing. So this is Pchinas Acharam. You go back to when did you start? That's when it gives value to the tainus. And it says there's another reason why the beginning is always we're going back. This is because everything that you do always follows the beginning. Beginnings, trying to make tshuva, doing tshuva, deciding you're going to fast, whatever it is, everything follows the beginning. Beginnings are always difficult. When you decide that you want to flip over from being one way to being in another way, then that's the hard part. Afterwards, you get into, the sing-song of the thing, and it's okay. That's you don't have to fight it anymore. So fasting is a bechina of Achorayim. The importance of it is when you go back to where did you start. Now we know that there is a Kabbalistic formula. Would you mind turning on this? Yeah, on this Shvitzi. There is a Kabbalistic expression to a bechina of Achorayim. There's a way, to express it. So let's say we visited that particular bechina in Torah Vav. Rabbeinu says that tshuva is represented, when a person does tshuva, is represented with the holy name of Eke. Aleph Ke Yud Ke. You're doing tshuva, the name of Eke is shining upon you. What happens? A person who is before the state of tshuva, he is Pchinas Achoraim of tshuva. He didn't make tshuva yet. So the Shem Eke is hidden from him. It's Pchinas Achoraim. How do you express Eke b'Achoraim? You go back and you go like this: Aleph. The regular is Aleph K Yud K. Achoraim is Aleph, Aleph K Yud, Aleph K Yud K. Each time that you're going ahead with another letter, you're going all the way to the beginning. Now, fasting, what do you do when you're fasting? You are making yourself hungry, right? How do you say hunger in Lashon Kodesh? Ra'av, right? Reish Ayin Beis. The gematria of Ra'av is 272. Rabbeinu reveals a tremendous secret. The name Shem Havaya, which represents the Kodesh Baruch Hu, and Shem Elokim represents the Shechina. Mibchinas Panim, the front, the full-blown spotlight is Havaya and Elokim. When you want to represent the Achoraim of Havaya Elokim, obviously you go Yud, Yud K Vav, Yud K Vav K. That's Havaya, the Achoraim. Elokim, also Aleph Lamed, Aleph Lamed K, Aleph Lamed K Yud, Aleph Lamed K Yud Mem. This is how you express Elokim, the hindsight of Elokim. When you take the hindsight of Havaya and the hindsight of Elokim, the Achoraim, both of them, The gematria of both names together is exactly 272. Keminyan Ra'av, hunger. You are creating an expression of Shem Havaya and Shem Elokim in their format of Achorayim. That creates an amazing effect. What it does, it takes the Havaya, the Achorayim, is the hind side of Havaya, and it takes the hind side of Elokim, and it puts them together. Now, I don't know if you've ever seen when there's a group of people that are fighting two people. If these two people, if they turn one way, then the enemy behind them is going to attack, right? They're going to turn the other way, then from the other side. So what do? They stand back to back. One says, you take care of these rascals. I'll take, this side. I'll take of these rascals from that side. Back to back. In other words,
360 degrees.
right. They're sealing off their vulnerabilities. They don't let anybody come behind them. Come on this side, this one. You are creating a yichud of Kodesh Baruch Hu and the Shechina, Havaya Elokim, Bivchinas Achorayim. That blocks off the access of the klipot to the kedusha. That covers up the source of food for the klipot. Now, the klipot are still hungry. They're not just hungry, but they're desperate. When the klipos get desperate, they'll go for it. They'll go to get sustenance from wherever they can. They cannot go to the Achorayim because Elokim the Achorayim is yichud. So they say, okay, let's go from the face or the front of the kedusha. What can you do? You have to do it. It looks like a victory. They're not getting from the Achorayim, they're getting from the front. The effect is like a moth being attracted to fire. It burns them up. And he calls it et shloit odom be'odom v'raloi. When one person gets dominion over someone else, and it ends up being to his detriment. That seals off the kedusha. Now let's see that thing inside. Rabbeinu brings how the Torah describes it. When a person fasts and he brings about this yichud achor be'achor, how does he do it? He brings about he's bringing about a trickling of meimei chasadim, the waters of chesed. That's the thing that creates the sealing of the Achorayim. Rabbeinu explains it, and then he brings how the Torah expresses this whole mahalach in the episode of Avraham Avinu coming to Eretz Canaan. There was hunger in the land, and he went and he traveled Hanegba to the south, to the Negev, and he comes to Mitzrayim. And Sarah Paroi see Sarah Imenu, and they praise her to Paroi, and she's being taken to Paroi's palace. And the end is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu beat up Paroi. And Paroi had to give Avraham Avinu tremendous amount of money. And she was actually taken out, and this was Simon Labonim, when Am Yisrael took whatever they took out of Mitzrayim. Rabbeinu here explains this mahalach, and then he shows how this mahalach is expressed in this story the Torah tells us. And so as follows. So that what we said about the tinus, we spoke about already. We said that you're starting from this, and each time you go to the back. And he says, because these ministers are very close, that dibur in the throat is very close to the dibur. They pull the dibur to Golas Mitzrayim. They pull it to themselves. What it means, it makes a person hoarse. Spiritual hoarseness means you can sing as beautiful as Pavarotti, I don't care, but you can't speak before Kodesh Baruch Hu. You come before Kodesh Baruch Hu, you can talk. This is called hoarseness b'kedusha. You have, when a person take a glass of water, this is made of chasadim. You have to bring chasadim and waters of chasadim to moisten the throat b'kedusha, and then you can speak to Kodesh Baruch Hu. And as follows. The straits of the throat. My throat is sore, it is hoarse. You cannot say anything before Kodesh Baruch Hu. Well, they are tinus. When a person is marivatzmei, when he hungers himself, he is bringing about the waters of chasadim to moisten the dryness of the goren, the meitzer goren. Then a person can speak. And this, now the Rebbeinu says how all this is embedded in the story that the Torah tells about Avraham Avinu and the hunger in the land, and so forth and so on. V'rav ba'aretz, there was hunger in the land. Rav, hainu pchinas tainus, who says Rav is, hunger is when you make yourself hungry. This is tainus. Shemar v'satzmo, you make yourself hungry. V'zehu dveikus achor kedusha. You're sealing off, you're cementing the hind side of the kedusha. Ki havaya Elokim, the name of Kodesh Baruch Hu, the name of the Shechim, Pchinas Achorayim, Mispar Rav. In Gematria, it comes out to Rav, which is 272. Now, Rabbeinu explains how it goes. Kishem Havaya B'Achorayim. I think Rabbi Nosson explains it, I'm not sure. Kishem Havaya B'Achorayim. How do you write it? The Hainu Yud Ke Vav Yud Ke Vav Ke. Oile Ein Beis. The Gematria is 72. The Shem Elokim b'Achorayim, you express, and Kabbalistically, you explain Shem Elokim. B'Pchinas Achorayim, like this: Aleph, Aleph Lamed, Aleph Lamed K, Aleph K Yud, Aleph K Yud Mem. Gematria is 200, is Reish. So you have Reish and Ein Bet together, Ra'av, 272. Together is 270. First of all, V'yarav ba'aretz means fasting. And Avraham Avinu went down, the to Mitzrayim. He brings. It said in the pasuk, "Vayisa Avraham Elch v'Nesor Negba," to moisten the negiva, the dryness of the throat. Niskayim kraba goren al tachsich. Call out with a full throat. Don't hold back. In other words, you're able to speak to Kodesh Baruch Hu. When the back of the Kedusha is being sealed off, they cannot enter and suck off. That exposes the face of the Kedusha. What's the result? The result is we said afterwards. And when Avram came to Mitzrayim, then the Egyptians saw the woman because she is extremely beautiful. Sarah is the Shechina, it's the Dibur. Wow, this is extremely beautiful. The use of Sarah Paroi and the ministers of Paro saw her. Who are the ministers of Paro? These are the heads of the Taivas. Now, Sarah is the Shechina, the Dibur. I know She'ela Sarah. The roots of all the clippers, they see the beautiful splendor of the dibur. Vehalusa el parai. They want to suck off from the very face of the kedusha. In other words, the face of the dibur. All this is done purposely by Kodesh Baruch Hu, in order to get out from them, from within them, that which they swallowed, the kedusha they swallowed before it. There is a time when a person has dominion over another, but that's to his detriment. Because really, they cannot suck off from the face of Kedusha. Adrabah. The Kedusha that is within them are being extricated from the Tumah, come back into the Kedusha. The Zed is what is said in the story of Avraham Avinu and Sarah. V'inoga Hashem Esparoi. HaKadosh Baruch Hu had smitten Parai. He beat Parai. What does it mean? He took out the Kedusha from Parai. That remains without chayus. Isha Yiras Hashem, Ki Tisalol. Isha Yiras Hashem, that's the Shechina. Tisalol, what do you mean? It will be praised. What does it mean? She was praised to Parai. The face of the Shechina are being revealed. They want to suck off the very face of the Shechina. And the only reason is for that, Ela Bishvil, it says afterwards, give her from the handiwork of her hands. Ishares Hashem Tisalol, a woman that is a God-fearing woman, she will be praised. Give her the fruits of her handiwork. In other words, get out. This is a kedusha from between them. When she extricates all her chayos from the kedusha, all the idol worshippers, all those are from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, they throw away their idol because there's nothing there. They all turn to the emunah of Israel. Likra kulam Hashem Hashem. And they all call the name of Hashem because they have no chayes. This is the main kishut emunah. It's an adornment of the kedusha. So that those who are far away the people of God will come close to the emunah. I want to. First of all, of course, this shir is dedicated to the full health of all our friends, amongst them Moshe ben Pesa, that just had a kidney transplant, and all our friends, Lozer ben Golda, and everybody that needs any kind of refuah, B'ezrat Hashem, Chish Kal Mehera, not to worry, everything with Hashem will be okay. Let's take this enough of a little bit of tightness and bring it home a little bit. There's another bechina of hunger. Yeah. When a person wants to get close to Kadosh Baruch Hu, and it doesn't work. It just doesn't work. I don't want to get up. I don't want to get up in the morning to go to shul. I don't want to, when I daven, I just want to get rid of it and get it over it. And all those inyonim, I eat. So of course I take shawarma belafa, not the pita, because there's more. And the thing is, when you see the Spurimisis, the story of the master of prayer, when he meets with the warrior, they get together, they hug, they cry. Then they ask each other, what happened to you? Let me tell you what happened to me until I met you. And the master of prayer says, okay, so then I'll tell you what happened to me before I met you. Why do we need to know? Why is it important what happened to them before? Then the giver said, I came over the face, the place of the king, but I couldn't search for him. I couldn't find him. Then I came to the place of the queen, couldn't search for her, couldn't find her. And this he goes where it says that I went over everybody's place except yours, the Baal Tefillah. I didn't pass over your place. Because the warrior represents the Yesod, and the Baal Tefillah is the Baal. So obviously, come to the Yesod didn't pass the Tefillah yet. Now the Baal Tefillah is telling his story. I went to the place of the king, and he's already going into details. And I saw there a crown, and I understood that was the place of the king. But it was not possible to look for him and to find him. And then I went and I found a sea of blood. And he says, and I understood that this is the place of the queen. And all the sea of blood was created from the tears of the queen. And then he says, I went on and I saw a sea of milk. I understood this is the place of the daughter of the queen. That the baby was taken away from her and the milk was pressuring her. This is the thing created, and so forth and so on. We can understand. She said, listen, I came to the place of the king and I couldn't find him. I said, the queen, I couldn't find him. The king, of course, is Kesa, the queen is the Chacham, the Bina, whatever. But why couldn't you search for him? Oh, because you can't find him. But you can search. Finding is not up to you. There are three things that come Be'esach Hadas. Metzia, going in the street, suddenly find, look, there's a 200 shekel bill on the floor. Huh? You can plan it ahead. Akrav, scorpion, darling. Person never prepares himself, to an encounter with scorpion. And Mashiach. That's the third thing that comes. People think about anything, something, boom, there's Mashiach. So, okay, so you can't find it because, well, it's not up to you, but you can search. So this is what Rabbeinu is telling us. Derech Efshar, we'll learn from that. Sometimes you can't even search. Let alone you can find, but you can't even search. You don't have the wherewithal. You don't have the will even to search. Well, what's the big deal? Practically the entire world is like that. If you don't have the will to search, why are you so special? The answer is they told you what happened to me before. Where was I before? What is my deal? What is my kavana? My kavana is to get close to Kadosh Baruch Hu. We are connected to Rabbeinu. Rabbeinu puts this urge in us. We know no rest. We are looking at Kadosh Baruch Hu. We had high times, low times, rich times, poor times. Only when we remember that, we can get into a state where we can't even look for Kadosh Baruch Hu. And what we do is we move on. We move on. But you give it a search Kadosh Baruch Hu. It's okay. It'll be all right. How do you know it's going to be all right? Because I was there before. That's what happened to me before. I've been there, done that. It's not the first time it happens to me. I come to the face of the queen. You may not be in the Dina Misarim, the Bina, whatever it is, hardships, whatever it is, sea of blood, whatever it comes from the tears of the queen. But I can't even search for her. I just say, oh, this is so painful, and I can deal with that, and I'm sick and tired of that, and whatever it is, I don't understand what is going. Go on. In other words, you want to see the Shekhinah in it, you want to see the Bina in it, and all you see is sea of blood. You can even search for, okay, what's the, what are the Kodesh Baruch Hu trying to tell? You can't. You're going to search it. You have zilch moichin, nothing. Duh. When you look at it this way, this is also a tightness. When a person goes through personal hardship of any kind, a person can look at it and say, oh, man, I can't take this. I can't take it. Can't take it. And it's possible. And a person can say, look, I don't have the emotional, the spiritual koyach to take it, but it's okay. I'll move on. Then the hardships that the person goes through, this lack of moichin the person goes, this lack of motivation, the problems, either health or parnasa or whatever it is, it becomes you are turning into a tightness. You are bringing to that reality meimei chesed, the waters of the chesed, to moisten the throat. It doesn't help you search Baruch Hu right then and there. You just continue. It's part of your avodah. This is a theme that Rabbeinu goes through again and again and again. Torah Chafei is filled with that. Quite a few Torahs.
What's he doing that's Bechina of thanks? What's he doing that's Bechina of thanks?
The fact that you accept it, you accept it. You don't rebel against it. You don't rebel against it.
How do you get out of it?
You don't get out of it because Baruch Hu gets you out of it. You are there because you're letting go. You're letting go. Pressing you to get out of it only makes it last longer.
That's a 12-step program expression. Let go, let God.
That's right. Let go. Let Hashem. You'll take care of it. By you accepting it, you are turning a hunger into tightness, with all the benefits of tightness. Rabbeinu teaches us how to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu from any situation that we find ourselves in. I can go to Uman, I cannot go to Uman. Things are going well in my household, things are not going in my household. The health is like this, or the health is like that. You can serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu with everything by saying thank you, thank you, thank you. I mean, when I'm reflecting upon myself, how do I feel about this? Man, I don't like it one little bit. Okay, that's fine. But I know that Kodesh Baruch Hu is doing something. Listen, I have my own preference, I'm a human being, So I mean, when the Gemara said about Hanan and Mishael and Azariah, the three people that Nebuchadnezzar threw into the fire, and the fire didn't burn them. The Gemara says about them, they said, the Nebuchadnezzar said, I want you to bow down to the idol. They said, no way, Jose. You're a king upon us, to pay your taxes and whatever it is. Yeah. He says, but when it comes down to emunas, to divrei emunah, is you and a dog are equal. Why they had to actually answer him so bluntly to his face, I don't know. But that's what they told him. So they threw them into a pit that was burning for 7 days. And they were in there, and they were walking in the flames. And the flames not only the flames didn't touch them, it didn't even touch their clothing. They came dressed with the bekachas, with the shtreimels, the whole thing, and it wasn't even singed. There wasn't even a smell of fire on their clothes. What did the Gemara said? Had the Bavlim in the Assyrian, had they beaten up Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, they would have bowed down to the idol. They were able to take this kind of constraints, this kind of fisurim, but they wouldn't be able, if they were beaten up, they wouldn't be able to take it. In other words, it's not like, okay, them, or you want to compare me to them. I mean, there, Hanan Sharadai, obviously, it's they sent an angel to sell them. Me, I can't even take a little, an ingrown toenail. I mean, they also couldn't take everything. The Gemara says it flat out. It's okay that you don't have the ability to take it lying down and to be like, okay, to be stoic about it and just go with the flow. There's no need for that. There is an Indian of, you can tell, I'm sorry, but I don't have the wherewithal to carry the load. But thank you for that. I wish you'll take it away from me, but I know it's from you, and thank you, and I'm sure there's a great tikkun for me. And even if I can't even say that, just keep my mouth shut. It's also pchinus tainus. And if I find myself that I can't even do that, I can shut my mouth in my mind. Stop. Everyone says that. Stop thinking, even for a few seconds. Just stop thinking. Just don't think anything. No, woe is me. Don't think any of that. Just schwag still. Be totally silent. Inside. That's Prinus Tainus also. Baruch Hu B'ezrat Hashem should give refuah to all Chayv Israel. Give great health to all of Israel. Will help all the people of Am Yisrael. Should B'ezrat Hashem, will solve all their financial problems, all the Shalom Bayis problems, anything, whatever it is, bothers them, B'ezrat Hashem, we will be able, B'ezrat Hashem, to have a guten Chodesh and a ksir, a chsima toivo. B'ezrat Hashem, the Gitchke Ben Shio, B'ezrat Hashem, will all see each other, B'ezrat Hashem, in Uman, B'ezrat Hashem, this year, without debts, without constraints, and without any kind of sorrow, B'ezrat Hashem. Kol Tov. Let me just stop there. Okay, stop.